Man, I find it so weird. I miss the old Parasite where it was like really good, but now Alpha came around and it's too laggy for my taste. I like games to be a fairly good FPS, but a lot of people are conditioned to enjoy the lag for some reason. And I don't know how that has happened, unless StarCraft 2 has a lot more dumb people than I thought. But yeah, I prefer Recovered more than Alpha. Alpha just feels like it has a bunch of unnecessary stuff in it. Like, people are like, oh, you guys stole from Alpha, and I'm just like, bruh, you guys stole from like Xenocrisis, Mindful's Parasite, etc. We all have blood-filled hands in this engagement. But as we see, because of a hatred bias, this map just gets a lot of hate without a lot of people being rational. But that's StarCraft 2 for ya. If people get triggered on Sc2, they don't use their brains. That's how trolling happens, and all of these toucans begin invading other servers and whatnot. Yeah, they finally chose a good mod for Alpha though. Like, I'm not saying, like, if you're watching this, Razvan, if you're watching this, you were kind of a bad mod. But it's totally understandable. Parasite Alpha is really boring, and people get really triggered. But they chose a more rational moderator called Floppyware, who actually feels like a pretty rational dude. He's just like, hey, I'm here now. But I'm kind of betting he's gonna be around for about 3 months, and then he's gonna be demodded immediately afterwards. Because he's gonna make one small little trip up, and then he's just gonna, and then the mentor's gonna be like, nah, you're demodded now. This is a Christian StarCraft 2 arcade game. No swearing here. So yeah. Also, Recovered has a lot of new stuff in it. Like, I don't get why people are saying it's stolen when this game has a lot of new stuff. Like, since its, well, starting patch, it has received 28 different patches, which added new forms and new stuff, like pirates. It also has mind aliens, and if you're familiar with the SCP lore, we have 173. Yeah. You see, I decided to get the model onto StarCraft 2 by converting it to M3. So I took the model, well, not really took, I downloaded the model from a free models website, and then I converted the model into M3. That was kind of difficult, and that was my first time converting something that wasn't from Sc2. Well, wasn't from a Blizzard game to StarCraft 2. So yeah. I think that the biggest problem I have with Alpha is that the lag is intolerable to me. Like, I'm running a pretty fancy smanchy PC over here, and it's dying to Alpha. It's like 30 FPS, and then it goes lower and lower until I'm just like, what am I playing anymore? I can't. This is like a slideshow presentation. One of my friends was like, oh, I can't attack now because of all of like the minions and stuff on the map. I'm just like, you know, there's this thing called the pixel limit in StarCraft. You want to know what the pixel limit is? Well, StarCraft has a failsafe for whenever it detects too many pixels, it just stops producing models or sprites. It does this to avoid lag and to avoid the game crashing, but this causes any ranged unit to be doomed because they can't attack anymore. They can't load projectiles. And you know what Alpha has? It has the same problem. And the developer team of StarCraft 2 were like, hey, we gotta make a bunch of 3D models for this game. And we gotta make sure this model loading problem doesn't happen. So they fine-tuned all of the models so that it's quite literally impossible for a StarCraft 2 game to run into the model limit. But guess who managed to get to the model limit? Oh, it's Alpha. It's like, how do you do that? How?
Upgrade complete.
Like, you have to be so bad at making stuff. You just run into the model limit. That just baffles me. I'm just like, what? What? I'm just like, what? What's going on? But yeah, Recovered is pretty nice because it's much better than Alpha. I get 45, 50, 60 FPS. It's good.
Automated gas defense activate established.
But how do you break the model limit? Like, how? And there's a lot of people who are like, oh, I don't lag in Alpha. And I'm just like, you probably play on low settings, bro. It's not even like you experience high settings, but it's all the way at low. The lighting is on high, everything's on low.
Upgrade complete.
I really prefer games to be at a higher FPS. I really don't care if they look good, if they run good. If your game runs really poorly, then I'm just gonna have a heart attack and leave because I don't like playing low FPS games. Unless it's like an intended thing. Well, in Hollow Knight, it's sort of weird because everything moves at about like 26 frames per second, but the game itself runs at 60 FPS. If the game itself runs at 60 FPS and everything else is like moving slower, I don't care. If it's running at 60 FPS, I'm happy. Like, the devs managed to find a way to scare me away from Alpha, because if you have low FPS, I'm just like, no, that's horrible. I just don't want to handle low FPS. It's like the hardest thing for me, because I want to enjoy a game, not a slideshow where each individual image just pops up and then the next frame comes in. I'm just like, why? Why do you have to do this to me, guys? I really wish Alpha was a better game to me. Obviously, some people think differently, and I think their opinion is okay as long as it isn't as dumb as Zaki and Zeratul opinions. They're like trained toucans. They're not the brightest bulbs in the bulb drawer, that's for certain. Well, I'm just like, guys, how do you enjoy a game that's so laggy that I literally want to pull out my eyes out of their socket? Like, I understand liking a game, but it's like a 5 FPS. And that's probably the most intolerable thing for me. If the game ran at like 60 FPS, then I would probably tolerate Alpha more. But there's another problem I have with alpha where it just messes with the old core mechanics. Like, I understand you want to make the game new and fresh for people, but I don't see why you have to touch the core mechanics while adding new stuff. It's really silly. It's like, oh, we need to add new stuff by converting the old stuff and the new stuff. Why not just build new stuff over the old stuff like Recovered is doing? That's another reason why I like Recovered. It takes the core mechanics that worked well and it just adds new stuff. It's not like, oh, fuck you, I'm gonna add random stuff. No. It adds new stuff while just an extension of the core mechanics. It isn't just a bunch of random junk added just for whatever. It's just sad to me that it has to be this way. Alpha just walks, and I guess I have to deal with it, but I have Alien making Recovered, so I'm happy about that. Recovered is really great in my opinion, and nothing really can deter that opinion. Also, another thing I've been hearing is why hasn't Alien, like, worked with the devs? Like, you would think that with the devs and Alien, like, Alpha would be the best thing ever, but the devs for some reason don't want to work with Alien. They have repeatedly said, no, you're not working with us. And let's be honest. Okay, Smith and Chuli are gone right now. They haven't been seen that often. Then we have Host, who only photoshops images. And then finally, we have Demento, who a lot of people don't like, a lot of people like. I'm just like, I don't care. But he really sucks at the editor. Like, if you were a vacuum cleaner, like here's my analogy. So if you had a vacuum cleaner and Demento doing a map editor session, the vacuum cleaner would suck less than Demento would. That's for certain. But seriously, those games are really unbalanced. Like, his low TRs are balanced according to how people own him in games and how he owns other people in games. Like, there's this thing that most SC2 devs suffer, is that where if you, like, beat them up with a certain tactic, that tactic is gonna be nerfed immediately afterwards. Because they're like, oh, that's too overpowered, even though it only beat me. Devs of games tend to suck compared to the best of the players who played the game. This example can be best seen in, like, Hungry Box versus Reggie, if you ever heard of that. He's the president of Nintendo, yet he cannot play Smash, even if he was at gunpoint. I'm not even lying. He jumps off the cliff 15 times in that one match. I'm just like, how? But it turns out the devs have no time to play their own games. That's why they have play testers, which tell them critical feedback and tell them, hey, this is the problem with your game, go fix it, and they fix it, and everyone's happy. But what happens if a dev tries to be a play tester? And this is where things go out of whack. Because playtesters are usually hired for really good critical feedback and for exploit finding. But whenever you have like a dev do it, then you get this weird, oh, I'm just gonna change this because I suck at it, because I have no time to play this game and work on the map or game. So yeah.
Our allies are being attacked.
But game developers are always, well, with some exceptions here and there, but are always bad at their own game. The only person I've seen who was the exception to this was like Luminous from Kerrigan Survival. He actually knew what was going on in his own game. He knew what was going on. And he was actually a pretty good player. He was legitimately in the like top 10 of his own map in his leaderboard. Which is surprising because he's the only exception to that rule of thumb. But I think that the biggest problem I have with Alpha though, well, I think, yeah, I already mentioned them all. Core mechanics being mangled and destroyed and being replaced with stupid stuff. And lag. Holy moly, the lag is horrible. I would tolerate Alpha more if it didn't lag all the time. I want my games to be more than 60 FPS, 45 FPS. Not like 15. There's a lot of clipping models on Moon and Alpha where you can tell that they just took the drop tool, the spawn doodad tool, and they just spammed it everywhere until they got the result they wanted. I'm just like, guys, you guys are overdoing it a bit. I'm sure this is gonna get a lot of dislikes though, because of the salty Alpha defenders. I mean, I don't really care. But yeah, Recovered is a pretty good map in my opinion. It fixes the lag problem and adds new stuff as an extension of the old core mechanics that I enjoy. I just wish Alpha was better. Maybe it would be better if Alien worked with Demento, but I doubt it will ever happen. Alien already got rejected by the Para-Alpha dev team. But I think it would be nice. I think the problem is that people have this like hate bias, where he stole the map, therefore it cannot be enjoyed. Like, I'm just like, come on, guys. I'm just like, come on. It's just a map. You guys really expect a stolen map to be so buggy and stuff. I think it's better than Alpha. But I just really hate how people have this, like, bias fallacy because it's stolen. StarCraft 2 is a free game, and all the maps that have ever been created only belong to Blizzard. So only Blizzard can technically say, oh, you stole from us. But then again, they don't really care about StarCraft 2, so we're just arguing our own semantics here. Like, how do you argue that somebody stole something that doesn't even belong to the person in the first place? In my opinion, it's like art. Somebody makes this pretty decent piece of art that has a lot of potential, but it fails at the end. So Alien's like, okay, I'm gonna take this and fix it. And then he fixes it up and makes it better. But is that stealing? But yeah, I really don't get why people have that bias fallacy. If you don't like Recovered, but you've never played it, you should play it at least once to at least form a rational opinion of it. Like, a lot of people are just like, oh, I hate it because people tell me it's hateable. Like, if you want to have an opinion about something, why don't you play it? I'm just like, I'm pretty energetic right now. and a bit tired from college. But I'm just like, guys, you guys don't like Recovered, don't play it. Like, don't troll other communities just because you hate them. But yeah, the alpha community though is filled with a lot of toucans and pretty low IQ people in my opinion. Nothing bad about that, but I feel like you should have more of a rational opinion about stuff if you're going to hate on it so much. But I guess you're gonna just be haters and hate. That's life though.
Complete.
So I don't care if y'all do that. I'm just gonna keep on producing these videos. I think Recovered is really great. Adds a lot of new stuff to the table. And if you're bored, you should play it. Don't be like lag switchers from the Pair Alpha community, though. Those people are just lame. Like, if you trade an eye for an eye regarding a silly matter over an arcade game, then you're probably a sad person. You're just lag switching another community? That's trolling. Even if the other, like the community you're in calls you like a war hero or something, it's just like you're being trained by trolls to troll other communities. But then eventually you'll get banned for trolling by doing it against your own community by accident thinking it's normal. And I think that's kind of sad. But yeah. This is me just babbling on about a StarCraft 2 map. I'm a go now. Ciao!